Here is chapter 4. It was only a little puddle, Sammy said. I don't know why your mom got so upset. He kicked a stone between two big maple trees at the end of the Dodson's driveway. Goal! Charles, Lizzie, and Sammy were walking to school together, the way they always did. Charles and Sammy were both in Mr. Mason's second grade class. Lizzie was in fourth. It had not been easy to say goodbye to Goldie. Charles could practically still see her big eyes watching him curiously as he helped Lizzie clean up the puppy's mistake. Would she still be there when he got home from school? We would have to convince Mom to let us be her foster family, he thought. His fists were all balled up inside his jacket pockets. He almost felt like if he might cry. He took a deep breath. We have to make a plan. First, we must convince Mom to let us foster Goldie. Then we convince her to let us keep her forever. Lizzie grinned at him. I'm with you, she said. Sorry. Sammy bumped a fist with Charles. Me too. Charles had a hard time paying attention at school today. And it wasn't because he was making up new knock-knock jokes. It was because he couldn't stop thinking about Goldie. What was she doing? Was she still feeling scared? Was Mom making sure that that she had enough clean, fresh water? Was she making sure that the bean was not bothering Goldie? Mr. Mason called on Charles 3 times during math. Even though Charles did not raise his hand. Subtraction was usually not that hard for Charles, but today it was. First, Mr. Mason wanted to know how many cherries Anna would have left if she started with 13 and gave Charles 8. 7? Charles guessed. He knew he was wrong as soon as he said it. Mr. Mason just shook his head and moved on. Later, he tried Charles again. What if I had 11 elephants, he asked, and I gave you 3? Charles pictured 3 huge elephants squeezed trunk to tail in his living room. He didn't picture but a tiny but ferocious Goldie running around and barking at their huge feet. He smiled. Charles? Mr. Mason was laying. Charles said, 7? Again, he knew he was wrong. The third time, Charles didn't even hear Mr. Mason call him. Sammy finally poked Charles in the side. Wake up! Said Sammy. Charles didn't know what the question was. 7? He guessed. Correct, Mr. Mason said with a big smile. Now you're getting it. The only time Charles paid attention was during reading partners time where his class went down to the hall to read with their kindergarten friends. Charles had a partner named Oliver, a funny little boy who wore big glasses. Oliver always wanted to read about dogs. That day, he showed Charles a book called Why Do Dogs Bark? It was full of facts about dogs. Charles was so happy to read that book with Oliver, it made him think of Goldie. Finally, after school was over, it was time to go home and see Goldie again. Charles would have run the whole way home. But Lizzie and Sammy were walking along slowly, talking about how to convince Mom to let them keep Goldie. I spent my whole term on the computer looking up how to housebreak puppies, Lizzie reported. 4th graders got a half hour of computer time every day. She showed him a bunch of articles she had printed out. Goldie's so smart, she'll learn how to go to the bathroom in no time. I have this great idea, Sammy said. We just need a tiny little tape recorder we could hide near your parents' bed. Charles turned to his friend. What? Sammy was always coming up with the wildest ideas. It's easy, Sammy said. We just make this tape that says, you want a dog, you love dogs, you love Goldie, you want to keep her. He was talking like a robot. Then we leave it under your mom's bed so it plays at night. Night while she's sleeping, he explained his normal voice. You know, so she kind of gets hip, so she gets kind of, hypnotized. Lizzie laughed. You want to hypnotize my mom? Right, Sammy said. Believe me, it will work. I saw this guy at the fair last year. He convinced the lady that she was a chicken. She was squawking and flapping her legs, and Charles tuned out. He was thinking about Goldie again. He could hardly wait to pick her up and hold her in his arms. Sammy went home to check on Rufus, and Charles and Lizzie went up their walk. Mom opened the door when she heard them on the front porch steps. She looked very tired. Her hair was all straggling. The bean was on the floor by her right foot, like Goldie was by her left. Ruff! Goldie barked. She looked happy to see Charles and Lizzie. Ruff! Barked the bean. He looked happy too. Mom was holding something in her hand. It was one of her running shoes, or at least something that used to be a running shoe. Mom, said Lizzie, holding up her articles, I bet I can housebreak Goldie in 1 week. And I'll make a bed for Goldie in my room, said Charles, so I can watch her every night. And Mom held up her hand, the one that wasn't clutching the chewed-up sneaker. Don't even bother trying to convince me, she said. I already made up my mind.